What's up guys, we're back again with another reaction to the GRIPT article today, which is called Senator Michael McDowell Launches Lawyers for No. So I don't know exactly what this is about, but this is obviously the referendum that's coming in Ireland, you know, the yes-no vote. I think it's to keep families in the Constitution or something like that, guys. 41.2, I believe. I looked it up. I have the Constitution book in the next room. But this one basically says, lawyers for no have called for the Irish people to reject both proposed constitutional amendments, saying that they could wreak havoc on family and succession laws. This one should be crazy, guys. I don't really know what this is about per se, but I want to react to a lot of GRIPT stuff, guys, because it gets a lot of views. And everyone, the support that it gets is ridiculous. So I really appreciate that. Much love to everybody. Drop a comment down below. You know, you can discuss if you want to be, you know, yes or no, guys. You know what I mean? You can discuss whatever you guys want in my comments. I'll try to answer everybody back as well. Check out my Patreon as well. Help support me over on Patreon. I love you all, and let's get it.
Does durable relationship mean? Gets confused, half explanations. Some of them are mutually contradictory, and in the end they say this will be a matter for the courts. Now we want to emphasize one thing. Courts do not decide on an afternoon what the Constitution means in blank. They only decide cases where two people with a dispute come before them, and one of them contends for one thing and the other contends for the other. So the process of determining what durable relationships actually means is in fact one which in this constitutional set of amendments you are being asked to say, you'll find out later. You'll find out when hard cases are decided. You won't know what it means the day you vote.
During the meeting, you mentioned the case of a woman who is caring for a profoundly disabled son. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what implications you think a yes vote would have on mothers like her?
Basically, what this case involved was a woman who lost €85 from her carer's allowance because her partner, not her husband now, so there's no difficulty describing them as family for the basis of for the purpose of the social protection law. Her partner's salary went, I think, 45,000, the princely sum, and they cut her carer's allowance by €85 a week. Now this woman, here's her situation. She is full-time 24-hour carer for an 18-year-old profoundly disabled son. He has Down syndrome, epilepsy, autism, hyperactivity, hyperthyroidism, bangs his head constantly, has to wear a neck brace to stop him injuring himself.
Yeah, it's really sad, guys. That is like the full whammy right there, guys. It's super sad. Jesus.
And doesn't sleep. So this woman...
I'm not supposed to use the Lord's name in vain again. I apologize for that. The last comment said don't ever say that. So I'm going to say like Jesus or something like that, which isn't really, you know, saying the Lord's name as we say. But yeah, this is unbelievable, guys. There's so many cases that you would find that fit specifically to a certain case, right? A certain misfortune, because obviously this isn't a regular case. Not everybody has a son that, you know, has these kind of disabilities, but these are the outliers that this saying yes could not be good for. It couldn't be good for, something like that.
Is on 24-hour duty. She went to the High Court and lost her case there. Jeez. Then she went to the Supreme Court and said, look, this is such a matter of urgent public importance. I need to leapfrog the Court of Appeal and go straight to the Supreme Court to have you hear my case under Article 41(2). The one they want us to eliminate. This was last November, the 16th of November. The Supreme Court said this is a matter of exceptional public importance. It said this question has never been given, I'm quoting here, extensive consideration by this or any other court. In other words, for the first time ever, the Supreme Court is going to look at the rights that women, and particularly the parents of severely disabled children, may have under Article 41(2). And what happens within 3 weeks? We get a date for a referendum, which, as you heard, has been guillotined in its passage through the Oireachtas. So suddenly there's great haste about getting rid of this article of the Constitution when there's a possibility that it might actually impact on the benefits, on the case and the circumstances of parents caring for disabled children.
Yeah, so yeah, because the husband, well, it wasn't a husband, but the partner left. So she wasn't entitled to as much money as she could possibly have, but she needs that extra 95 per week because the son is super disabled. And the thing is, people say, well, why doesn't she work? Like capitalism, why doesn't she work? Well, it's one of those cases where you kind of have to take care of the kid, 24 hours. You can't work 8-hour shifts because, something might happen to the son type of thing. So I get it. I get it now. Yeah. These GRIPT articles are very informative, guys. I'll just put that out there.
I don't believe that is a coincidence. If you do, I have a bridge I could sell you. So this case is due to come up on the 11th of April. The constitutional referendum takes place on the 8th of March. If that is passed, if carers are, I would say, duped into voting yes, this woman's case will never be heard, and the potential for them to benefit under this provision will be gone. So I can tell you...
You think you get screwed in your job, guys? Because you imagine this type of situation. Unbelievable.
And I don't know the woman, but I can tell you, I would bet my life that she's not voting yes.
Many on the Yes campaign have said that Article 41.2 means that a woman's place is in the home, in that it limits her from full participation in Irish society. We know that the Electoral Commission has said that that's not the case, and Senator McDowell has said that that's not the case, and that what it does say is that the woman shouldn't have to leave the home out of economic necessity. If that article is deleted, what kind of effect do you think it could have on women's economic reality, or mothers' economic reality?
Yeah, this is a blatant mistruth that the government and various other NGOs have been peddling during this campaign. No woman has ever been prevented from working outside of the home.
Yeah, right. That's obviously not a thing, guys. This isn't the 1950s. You know what I mean? Like, everyone can work. I think if you're over 16 or something like that, you can get paid a certain wage, and then when you hit 18, you have to have a minimum wage requirement, stuff like that. So, man or woman, doesn't really matter. So what's this truly about,
Because of this article, if that's what she wished. But there is a cohort of women who would like to spend time at home raising children. And the particular Article 41.2 references mothers rather than women generally. So this is for the protection of children and in the interests of children and in the interests of the bonding between mother and children. If women wish to stay at home, I think it's not unreasonable that the state should support them. And that's what Article 41.2 seeks to do. Some people may say that it has never really helped women stay at home, and certainly successive governments have, put in place policies that have made it very, very difficult for most women to stay at home. We live in a society where it is necessary for most families to have two incomes rather than one. And that is a real struggle for families, and it's a real struggle for many women who would like to spend the years that go by so quickly with their children. Saying no to the government on this and sending a resounding no vote would send a message to the government that this isn't good enough, their policies aren't good enough, and that they should, hold true to the promise made in Article 41.2 to support women in whatever their wish is as regards their children, be it to go out to work.
I like the way this lady speaks, man. I'd vote for her. She's a great speaker, and yeah, everything she's saying makes perfect sense. So people want to be able to stay at home with their kids or whatever, that should be a thing that the state takes care of. Yeah, it's a funny one. I'm not so sure. I suppose I would be, because you don't have, if you're a woman, you don't want to work and stuff, you want to take care of kids, that should be a right. It shouldn't be like you're forced to work all the time, because who the hell's going to take care of the damn kids now? You know what I mean?
Work or to stay at home, and the government needs to put those supports in place.
Earlier on you spoke about the meaning of durable relationships, or rather the lack thereof. Can you make again your point about how laws have to be made on words that everybody knows what they mean?
Well, generally with constitutions, you start with very fundamental phrases and fundamental concepts that have developed at times over centuries. So the last thing you do in a constitution is break loose, introduces phrases that haven't really been developed or worked out, and upon which there is no consensus either nationally or internationally as to what they mean. Because immediately you're inserting into your constitution a fundamental uncertainty. What you think it means and what I think it means may be completely different.
Yeah, so I'd love to know what the actual define as durable, because that's one of the things that people get very upset about. They think that anyone can have a relationship. Like, you can have a relationship with your cat, you can have a relationship, with nefarious ways, and you guys can take what you want from that, because obviously I can't speak too much on the internet about that kind of stuff because this will get censored, but you guys know what I mean by when I say nefarious. But yeah, it's a really weird one. Durable relationships. I mean, could I have a durable relationship with my laptop? You know what I mean? Or whatever. So yeah, it is a bit of a weird one, but at the same time, you do want people to be able to be free, with their partner. within reason. You know what I mean?
The government has repeatedly kind of failed to give a definition of durable relationships. What kind of effects do you think that could have on Irish law fundamentally?
Well, the problem in constitutional interpretation is very often you're stuck to the Constitution itself. So background documents, debates in the Oireachtas, reports from the Law Reform Commission, things that might inform how you interpret acts of the Oireachtas don't necessarily apply when you come to the Constitution. So you're left here with a very, very general phrase for which Supreme Court effectively has to speculate on what the people thought at the time.
During the course of your campaign for a no vote, what do you think the level of public awareness is as to the meaning of the proposed constitutional amendments?
I think it's extraordinarily low, and in fact I would proffer that the yes side are relying really on people not quite understanding what it means, certainly not understanding or grasping the consequences or the unintended consequences of these proposals, but hoping that they will they're relying on the electorate sort of being swept away in a sort of feel-good, fuzzy language and sloganeering of, you've probably seen the posters, they're everywhere talking about inclusive society, recognition of care, none of which has any meaning in law or in fact indeed. But what is the case is we are moving away with this proposal away from enforceable rights. What I mean by that is, for instance, under Article 42.2, which pertains to education, that article and the wording in that article says the state shall provide for. So, and that is mandatory, and it's like a gun to the head. I mean, on a weekly, if not daily basis, primary school places are found because of that language. They're found for children.
Yeah, you're like the state can provide the kid care type of thing, and now they're trying to get rid of that. Man, that's tough.
Because there's an obligation there in the state. What we currently have in the article is the state shall endeavour to ensure. And what they want us to replace that with is the state shall strive. And that's no accident. They know that this is subjective, it's unquantifiable.
Strive means basically, you might succeed or you might not. You know what I mean?
It's kind of like...
Wordplay and semantics is very important when it comes to speaking with people, guys. Just for the rest of your lives. When you start hearing wordplay from people, whether it be in your work or your friends or people close to you, they start saying these certain words that you're like, that shouldn't have been said. It's very, open to interpretation language when it's not specific.
We will do our best, so they can't be held to it. So that means those rights cannot be vindicated. They're not enforceable in court. So that's the first thing. But also I feel that we have to make the energetic argument. And the energetic argument for me is when you read 41.2 holistically, it's actually extraordinarily progressive because it's actually protecting the rights of the woman in the home and the mother, and it's acknowledging the profoundly important work, the value of mothering and what that gives society. I can't think of any other document nowadays, not least in 1937 or in when it was more normative for women to stay at home and not work, that actually acknowledges that. So for me it is a legal safeguard in terms of the legal framework, but it's also a beautiful recognition of the profoundly important work of mothers and women in the home.
I just think it's interesting that, this vote will be on the 8th of March, and on the 10th of March it's going to be Mother's Day. So if the government has its way...
The irony in that one, gee.
It will have successfully convinced the Irish people to remove the one reference to mothers in the Constitution. And so the Supreme Court did say in 2020 that this provision, Article 41.2, it's being labelled a care amendment, but obviously it is not a gender neutral provision, and as it currently stands in the Constitution, it's very focused on one gender, and that is women and mothers as well. But the Supreme Court described it as, I believe the words were rarely invoked, so it hasn't been perhaps hugely used in the past. It has been referenced in various decisions, but I think it's still an important statement of the importance of what only a woman and a mother can bring, and the importance of that labour, which is described as being in the common good. And so this provision has been condemned by the UN Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women women as stereotyping roles, but actually it's not confining a woman to a particular role, but it is an affirmation of the very important labour that she provides as a mother and as raising the next generation.
Yeah, it's a really good one. I love it, guys. All great speakers there. You know, I find it funny because, you know, when they say you have to work at home, you know, the mother's place is in the home type of thing, it sounds very like outdated. You're like, oh, that sounds outdated. But at the same time, guys, like who has to raise people? People have to raise the home as well. But I'll also say this, guys, like just because you're at home doesn't mean you're not working. You know, when people say you have to stay at home, honey, you know, to their wife or whatever, it does seem to me it's like, that's a bit outdated. Like that seems a bit almost mean, like those like stupid women have to stay at home, like this kind of rhetoric. It's like kind of almost demeaning is the word I was looking for there, to women. You know, it is demeaning to women. So I would kind of change the language. I'm like, well, you're doing an important job. Also, you can just work a different job. You know, you can start a YouTube channel like myself. You can start like the Instagram. You can do lots of different things. Sell fitness programs, sell helping programs, sell how to raise kids properly. Like, you know, you can do a lot of stuff at the home. Just because you're at the home doesn't really mean, it just sounds demeaning. It's like you're not allowed to leave the house like that. You know what I mean? So that's what gets me a bit like, that's a bit weird. Like, why would you say you can't leave the house? That's kind of obviously not good, right? But that shouldn't be how it's phrased or how people look at it. It should be looked at in a helpful way, but also you can do lots of different things from the house too. Like you can work on the internet from the house while you're raising family type of thing. You know, that's what I would do. You know, that's what I'm doing currently, working from the house. So yeah, let me know what you guys all think. I love you all, man. Stay free. I'll see you all in the next one, man. Peace.